What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down why tomorrow is going to be a very important day for the overall stock market and why the market is actually dropping like this right now, because we have some very important unemployment data coming out for tomorrow, and that will affect the Fed's policies and how the market ends up moving for the next few days and next few weeks as well. I'm also going to break down what the technicals and data are telling us about the markets in NIO and what you should be watching for tomorrow. Now, before I break anything down about this, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 7 free stocks, and 5 out of those 7 free stocks could be a free NIO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 3 weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. When it comes to NIO, guys, NIO is actually not looking too great right now. I did mention to you all that if NIO dropped below $9, you have to watch 8.7, but I did predict that NIO would actually see a bit of a bounce with the overall market instead. Now, I wasn't entirely wrong about that because in the very beginning of the day, the market did actually bounce. My signals did suggest the market would try to see a nice bounce. This did help NIO in the very beginning of the day, but the bounce did not last. That was actually unexpected. And we did actually see the algos switch. The 0 day to expiration options did also play a big role in this volatility. And as a result, the market became very, very weak as we're getting very close to the jobs report. So this right here was like a bull trap, right? We got the balance, then it just failed after like a couple of hours. And then the market just started bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. At the time I'm recording this, SPY is barely in the 393s, and NIO is actually in the 8s. So that's not necessarily looking good. So once again, it's always important to be prepared for anything. And now that this actually failed for NIO, everything's going to now depend on the data coming out tomorrow and CPI. If all the data that comes out is bearish, NIO and the whole market are going to crash. That's really the most blunt way I could say it. But for tomorrow, we first need to see some data first for more confirmation. But from a technical standpoint, once again, the market is looking more on the bearish side. But first, like I said, let's actually see some data. Now, for tomorrow, we have unemployment data coming out. Just so you guys remember, for the employment payrolls, the non-farm payrolls, we got 517,000 that actually came out in January, showing that employment was still very, very hot. Now, this is just the reported data. Obviously, the majority of these jobs were actually part-time, but what's happening is the jobs market was still too hot back in January. So now the data is coming out for February, and so far, seeing the fact that jobless claims once again did increase finally for the first week of March, they were actually relatively low for almost every week in February, which tells us there's a high probability that the unemployment rate that's coming out tomorrow might be a little bit low again or very close to expectations. That's not the best of signs. Now, just so you always remember, the data is coming out tomorrow, 1 hour before the market opens. We have non-farm payrolls. We want this thing to be 205,000. If it's anything higher than that, it's not going to be good for the stock market. It's not going to be good for us. The unemployment rate. We first want non-farm payrolls to actually be low, and we want unemployment to be high. Why? We want there to be job loss. Unfortunately, I know it's very tough. The Fed needs to start hurting the jobs market. They need to cause pain, because when more people lose their jobs, it's going to bring down demand in this economy. It's also going to slow down spending. Right now, Americans are spending way too much money with their credit cards, and they're continuing to just buy and buy and buy. Excuse me, sorry. That's not necessarily helping with the whole inflation situation. So the Fed wants there to be pain in the unemployment sector. They want there to be more unemployment. And Jerome Powell himself said that if the jobs market is too strong, the Fed is going to have to tighten even more and be even more hawkish. So that's why, this could be why the market's starting to sell off. Maybe people already know, maybe they already figured it out that the jobs numbers are not going to be good tomorrow. Maybe they already know, who knows? But that could be the reason why the market is selling off, why it started to sell off this early. That could be it. Once again, please be ready. Please be very, very careful tomorrow morning. it's going to affect the market big time. Now, as far as NIO goes, let me just talk about a couple of things. NIO has a very low price per ratio, showing lots of relative weakness. The analysts are no longer saying that NIO is going to outperform the market. A lot of them are saying it's just going to be equal weight or just pretty neutral. Many are still saying buy NIO, like Mizuho, they're still saying buy NIO. So we do have some buy ratings. NIO tends to be green about 53% of the time on Fridays. That's not necessarily going to guarantee anything for tomorrow because it depends on the data. NIO's short interest actually increased from 3.7 million to about 5.7 million. So over 2 million NIO shares were shorted just over the last couple of days, showing that shorts are starting to pile into NIO again. And that's part of why NIO ended up dropping even more. Now, once again, as a company, NIO has strong fundamentals. NIO is improving fundamentally on a daily basis, and they've been enabled by over 1,400 patented technologies, which actually offers them more and more battery swap offers and more services for their power services. In my opinion, that's very, very awesome stuff. I am very proud of the company from a fundamental standpoint, but I do believe they have some obstacles in the way, and that is they have to improve their margins, whether it is cutting prices or actually figuring out more ways to bring up demand. NIO needs stronger earnings during a time like this. NIO needs to do a lot better, and on top of that, they cannot become complacent. Now, based off their deliveries, NIO definitely has a lot of potential, but for the short term, right? If the market does end up continuing to bleed, this is likely going to hurt NIO. So for tomorrow, what are we essentially watching? If the market bounces, NIO is going to have resistance at 9 and then 9.13. And anything higher than that, I mean, there's like the mid 9.5 zone, 9.35 followed by like 9.8. I don't really see NIO going that high, but I could see a possible bounce. It's unlikely though. If we're bearish on NIO, we have to try to hold 8.7, the 8.7 zone. If that fails, there's a lot of room for NIO to fall to 8.33. She might try to hold like 8.5-ish, but I'm not counting on that being as strong as 8.33. That's where the much stronger support is going to be. If 8.33 fails, then it's going to be all the way down to $8. All right, guys. So we have a lot of technical indicators telling us, hey, things may not play as we want them to. Now, I also mentioned to you guys that there was a possible inverse head and shoulders right here. This could have been a trap set by the shorts. They were trying to trick us. This sometimes happens. Does it always happen? Not necessarily, but sometimes this happens. This was an inverse head and shoulders, but it looks like that this is going to be invalidated. It's not going to end up playing out, especially after today, as NIO ended up selling off pretty hard. And once again, there is also a possible one like right here. And if we broke below like 9, then it could have been invalidated, and it has been invalidated right now. So I'm not really seeing this inverse head and shoulders setup playing out. It looks like the bears are gaining the edge. On the hourly time frame, the MACD is in favor of the bears. On the daily, let's see uh, the daily is also in favor of the bears. Right, we were getting close to the crossover. I was like thinking, oh, could we get it? Could we get it? We almost got it, and then we failed, unfortunately. NIO is down over 4% now. The market's just continuing to bleed as we're getting very close to power hour at the time of recording this. Unfortunately, $9 is not holding. NIO is likely going to see more downside. So for tomorrow, what am I predicting? I mean, I really don't know. It depends on the data. But right now, the market's acting like the data is going to be bad. So if that's the case, I mean, NIO looks like it could come to the mid 8s. But once again, it all depends on the data coming out tomorrow morning. So please be prepared for that. Be ready for the data. It's going to affect the whole market in NIO, and brace for anything, because anything is possible. But for the overall technical setups in the market, the odds are in favor of the bears. It's more likely that NIO is going to fall to the mid to low 8s. Tesla's going to fall too. SPY, QQQ, NASDAQ, and etc. Everything is starting to align, and it looks like we're getting closer and closer. Thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.